So Jeremy, thanks for your time this afternoon. Great to speak to you about the work that Achieve Excellence have been doing at the John Warner School. Now, I know that the contact between Achieve Excellence and the school first came about through I was doing with David, the head outside of the school. Yeah. But how did you, as a member of SLT, first hear about Achieve Excellence?
So really, David spoke to me about the work he was doing with yourself, and obviously had heard about Achieve Excellence and the work that you and Chris were doing. And David suggested to me that it might be a contact that I'd like to make myself, and to bring you in and talk about the opportunities that we might be able to develop within the school. I think as a school we have for years always been looking at different ways we can look at continuing professional development and different ways in which we can address the needs of our staff. And David was very keen for us to explore this as a possibility, which is really where we brought you in.
That's great. And we had that initial chat, didn't we? And the first training workshop that Achieve Excellence ran for the school was around for the pastoral staff.
That's right.
And particularly that area about how to hold crucial conversations that pastoral staff so often have to have. Why did you start with that particular group of staff?
So my pastoral team, I run the pastoral system, as you know, and the team at the time were relatively inexperienced in post, new to post, the majority of them, in fact. And we were obviously keen to induct them into their positions and bring them on in their roles. And whereas maybe in the past, I suppose we could have sent them off on external providers and external inset, but I think we wanted to do something together. I think sometimes when you go off on your own as a teacher in whatever capacity that is, you can sometimes get a little bit lost with the provision that you're getting. So I think the idea was to bring everybody together and to develop some experience of what the pastoral roles might be that they were moving into, and to have some kind of shared collective kind of response to that, which we could then build on from there.
Okay, so as a team together, so you make sure it can get rolled out properly within the school.
It was really important to do things as a team, and I think sometimes in schools we can get a bit lost in the classroom on our own and in the roles that we have in the school. But obviously we're probably going to be more effective if we're working together, and doing something together in school seemed like a really positive start.
Great. So those were your thoughts before the workshop. What were your thoughts afterwards?
So obviously we got together and met to plan the workshops and to look at what we were going to actually do. And you came to me with the ideas of the crucial conversations, of, these important moments that particularly pastoral staff have on a day-to-day basis, be that with colleagues or students, parents, etc. And so the day itself, or the 2 days I think we had in total, were incredibly positive. First and foremost, just having everyone together for that amount of time, where they could share in the activities that you were putting on, and develop their understanding and their skills of the roles they have was incredibly positive. But the quality of the input as well from yourself and Chris was outstanding, I felt. And the feedback I got from the team in the immediate aftermath was that they were definitely worthwhile days. And again, that's not always the case. Sometimes it might be nice to have a break away from your day-to-day role, but you don't always come back feeling that was really worth your time. But I think to a person, they all felt that the days went really well. So the feedback was very positive in the short term. And then I suppose the really key thing for me was that this was going to actually be meaningful. And I suppose in some of the other relationships that we've developed, but even just from those 2 days, there were things that people took away and have used in their practice ever since. So a lot of the ideas and the methods that you were introducing to us on those first days, we've been able to revisit on lots of occasions. And I suppose the language of crucial conversations is really now embedded in the language of our school, particularly with the pastoral staff who were there from the start.
So it's great that it kind of carried on and it's embedded in the language of the school. How else have you kept it alive, the inputs from the actual workshops?
Well, I think it was really crucial that I was there from the start as well. And I know that when you ran the second sessions with the heads of faculty, that my colleague, the other deputy, was also present. And I think that's meant that when I've been chairing meetings with the pastoral team, for example, I've been able to remind them of different aspects, and we remind each other. I often hear staff, for example, say, you know, I've got a meeting this morning. I think it's going to be a bit of a crucial conversation.
Right. Okay.
Now, I think that, you know, almost kind of subconsciously means that they're really actually thinking through some of the techniques that maybe were introduced, and really sort of giving them a bit more confidence about how they might address what can be very difficult and sensitive situations. So we obviously have lots of opportunities to revisit that in the jobs that we do, dealing with parents and students, and obviously with colleagues on occasions. So it's just been really useful, I suppose, to have that kind of almost like that glossary of vocabulary that we can come back to, and we know what we're all talking about when we're talking about pacing, when we're talking about leading, and you know, the messages of crucial conversation just kind of just flows in the conversations we have.
Oh, that's great to hear. So you've given us some good examples of how it's really had an impact on the pastoral team. What's been the impact from the heads of year, the heads of faculty, who did the same, or did a one day, but a shorter version?
They did a shorter version. I mean, I think because of the success of the first 2 days with the pastoral team, there was a very clear sense, not just from myself, but from the rest of those who had that training, that this would really be something valuable for other staff as well. We obviously have the majority of conversations with students that might be difficult and with parents that might be sensitive, but that's obviously not completely exclusive to the pastoral team. And we felt that if we were starting to actually use this language in the conversations we were having with each other, that obviously we're quite keen as a school to ensure that the pastoral team and the curriculum side of things, you know, viewing things with the same eye as much as possible. And so we again met and organised the one day version for the heads of faculty. And again, I would probably repeat the same kind of things, that we're able now to talk about crucial conversations. We're able to use that kind of language. And also, I suppose one thing I haven't said is that in relation to yourself and Chris, being introduced to those teams, and how we've then followed it through, that kind of, you've been able to build relationships with individual members of staff, be they pastoral or curriculum. And I think that's been incredibly valuable as well, that your familiar faces that they know they can speak to, and even if it's just to say hello and that kind of thing, but to actually have some meaningful and useful conversations, I think has proved very valuable.
Okay, that's good.